In this video, we will look at aircraft carrier operations and the Dryden Sims F-14B Tomcat version 10.2 for X-Plane 10. You can set up an aircraft carrier approach from the Aircraft and Situations tab in X-Plane. This will put you on a 5-mile final, but I recommend you pause the sim and get set up better. Go to the maps page and drag yourself out to at least a 10-mile final. This will set you up for a Case 3 straight-in if at night or in bad weather. On the right side of the maps page you will see carrier heading. That is the heading of the landing area, not the bow of the ship. The ship's heading will be 10 degrees greater than that since it is a 10-degree angled deck. The heading of the landing area is the final bearing and what the ILS is aligned to. The ship's heading is the basic recovery course. While still paused, select the landing mode. The landing mode adds greater attitude lines to the VDI and an AOA E bracket to the HUD and VSI under the altitude block. The AOA E bracket helps you set the proper AOA for landing. When the center peg of the E is aligned with the aircraft reticle, you are on speed. Ensure yaw SAS is on. The maximum trap weight of the F-14 is 54,000 pounds. Check the weight tab to verify your weight and adjust as necessary. The default loadout will give you a weight of 61,000 pounds. An easy adjustment is to get rid of the Phoenix missiles. That'll save 4,000 pounds. At weights above max trap, you will achieve on-speed AOA at higher air speeds. Reduce the internal fuel weight until you're about 1,000 pounds over max trap. You will burn off about 1,000 pounds on the approach. Then complete the flash checklist. If you're going to the ship, you will set your hook bypass switch to carrier. Your lights will be off in the daytime. Your ACLS will be set on and your altimeter will be set to the ship's altimeter setting. Spoiler brake will be off and make sure your hook is down. When the hook bypass switch is set to carrier, the AOA lights will flash if the hook is not down. Selecting the HUD AWL switch to ACL will set the ship's ILS and TACAN frequency in the jet. Another cockpit option is to select the HSD to the navigation page. You can set your course to the final bearing and adjust the autopilot heading mode. Or you can choose the AWL page, which will give you needles, AOA, and VSI. Normally the RIA would use this to back you up. Final approach course will be at 1,200 feet and 250 knots. Set altitude hold and heading hold if you desire. Then dirty up. Complete landing checks. Wings, 20 degrees auto. Wheels, 3 down and locked. SAS, all on. Flaps, full down. Hook, down. Harness locked. Speed brakes extended. Brakes checked. Fuel just above max trap. Now slow to on speed and trim. On speed is the AOA that gives the jet the proper landing attitude and puts the hook in the optimum position to catch a wire. It is represented by a yellow circle on the AOA indexer. A red arrow means you're fast, a green arrow means you're slow. The same light pattern is displayed on the nose gear, so the LSOs on the ship can determine your AOA on approach. The proper on-speed attitude is a nose-high attitude. At 1,200 feet, you will intercept glide slope just inside 3 nautical miles. Slightly reduce the throttle, maintain on-speed AOA, and put the velocity vector 2 degrees below the horizon. aim for 5 to 700 feet VSI. The ship's movement has the same effect as a right crosswind. Your velocity vector will be to the right of the ship for most of the approach. The ship needles aren't quite accurate. Expect the needles to be left and low when you are on and on. Fly the needles until you're at 0.7 nautical miles, then transition to the ball. Your scan will then be meatball, lineup, angle of attack. On touchdown, add full power, close the speed brakes, and expect a bolter. A Mode 1 approach is where the ship's radar guides the autopilot down into the wires. The pilot will not have to touch anything. This does not really work well in X-Plane. You can try a Mode 1 Alpha, where the autopilot flies you down to the ball call, then you disengage and fly the rest of the way manually. Once on glide slope, turn the autopilot on and select Autopilot Approach. If you are coupled, an autopilot visor light will be visible in the windscreen and on the left side of the VDI. The Mode 1 often drops lock. If it does, reselect Autopilot Approach or fly manually. Disengage autopilot no later than 3/4 of a mile. The Case 1 pattern is used in daytime VFR. It starts by stacking overhead at 2,000 feet and above. When it's time to land and the deck is open, you will commence your push after the ship. Lower the nose, accelerate, and put the wings back. Descend to 800 feet and fly to the initial. Take note of the ship's heading, which is BRC. Fly overhead and to the starboard side of the ship at 800 feet. Enter the brake turn prior to 4 miles upwind. In the brake turn, reduce throttle, extend the speed brakes. Pull G's in proportion to your airspeed. If you're at 500 knots, pull 5 G's. If you're at 300 knots, pull 3 G's. Turn to the reciprocal of BRC and descend to 600 feet per downwind. Lower the gear at 280 knots, lower the flaps at 220 knots. Trim for on-speed and complete landing checks. Your ideal abeam distance is 1.2 nautical miles. Start your turn once you're past the ship. Use about a 25-degree angle of bank and do not descend below 450 feet until you have glide slope. Check your position throughout the turn. Expect to fly across the ship's wake before you're lined up on center line. Once you master the Case 1 pattern, you can then test your skills in one of naval aviation's most celebrated and revered traditions, the shit-hot break. Like most show-off maneuvers that are judged by your peers, there's no one absolute right way to do a shit-hot break. But lower the normal brake altitudes, afterburner, vapes, braking over or behind the ship, and barely being able to slow down in time to trap are all great tenets of the shit-hot. Once you trap, raise your hook, raise your flaps, sweep the wings, and engage nose wheel steering. Taxi out of the landing area and make your way to the cat. Make sure you're lined up with the catapult before you cross the JBD. When you get to the right spot, X-Plane will turn your brakes on for you and raise the JBD behind you. Spread your wings and lower your flaps. Kneel the nose gear. Kneeling the nose gear lowers the launch bar. If you have to taxi off the catapult, raise the launch bar before you unkneel the jet. Select Extend on the nose gear once airborne. Check that your trim is set to 0. Complete the takeoff checks, run your engines up to mill, do a complete wipeout, salute the catapult officer, and release the brakes to launch.